The MLB has just opened the MLB All Star Game voting for the starters for both the American League and the National League. So what better to do than fill out my personal All Star ballot here on Bleacher Brawls? It's gonna be a fun one. There's obviously some great players this year who have struggled a little bit. There's been some guys who have been under the radar, who have performed very well, and then you obviously have the guys who have done very well and are expected to do very well. So it's a big mix. We'll see how my All Star ballot turns out right here on Bleacher Brawls. My name is Derrik, and let's get into it. So here we are. Obviously, this is the MLB ballot, the MLB All Star ballot. We're going to start here going in order of the positions that they give us here on the voting ballot. We'll do the one position, start with the American League for that position, then we'll go to the National League for that position, and then continue that for every single position listed. So we're going to start off with first base in the American League, and this really comes down to two people for me. Comes down to Luis Arraez and Ty France. This is one I've gone back and forth on between the two. Arraez obviously higher average. France has done more with the slugging. And this one I've gone back and forth on because I really like Luis Arraez. I also like Ty France a lot. But at the end of the day, I have to go Ty France, even though I really, really like Luis Arraez. I just think I have to go Ty France. In the National League, this one I felt like was a no-brainer for me at least. Obviously, an honorable mention, Pete Alonso. He has been very good this year. But also Matt Olson, he's just a crap load of doubles this year. But I have to go with Paul Goldschmidt. Just makes sense to me. He's been ridiculous so far this year. At second base, here in the American League, this guy has had I think a breakout season so far this year. Is super solid defensively. I think he'll end up being a shortstop for his team long term. Maybe he's like a second. We will see. Obviously, Altuve's having a good year, obviously. But there isn't much else if you look at second base, and really when you look at it. So I'm going Andres Jimenez. I'm very high on him. I like what he's brought to the table this year. And for me, he has been very good. Very, very good this year. You can't put it any way. Now, the National League at second base, this one I struggled with. Jazz Chisholm, I thought maybe. Nolan Gorman, I felt that he'd be great. He just hasn't played enough to warrant a vote. And then Jeff McNeil, so this one was kind of a toss-up. So I personally went for personal preference a little bit. He's had a good year, had a slow start, so that hurts him a little bit. But he's hit well recently. He's hitting a boatload of doubles. So I'm going with Ketel Marte of the Arizona Diamondbacks. My personal favorite non-Red Sox player. So is there a little bit of bias? Maybe. But, I mean, that's the guy I'm rolling with here. Now, third base for the American League, there's really just two options. Jose Ramirez and Rafael Devers, who's up here. Ramirez has hit more homers, more RBIs, which is ridiculous that he somehow has 55 RBIs already. But Devers a lot higher average. Lower OPS, though. I think Devers has improved his defense massively. But at the end of the day, I think Jose Ramirez is the best third baseman in baseball, at least in the American League. Actually, I think he's the second best in baseball, behind the guy I'm going to pick for the National League, personally. Now the guy I'm going for the National League, he struggled a little bit as late. His average has dropped. He was up near, 380 a couple of weeks ago. Now he's down to just around 330. He's been very, very good. Shout out to Nolan Arenado. He's had a good year. Brandon Drury's had a very good year. Surprisingly, Key Brian Hayes, he's hitting for good average. Just the power's not really there. Austin Riley has done well this year. Josh Rojas, I really, really like. But he's just not good enough. And Patrick Wisdom has been good. Just the average isn't really there. But I think this one's obvious for me. I'm going to go with Manny Machado. I just feel like that was an obvious pick for me. Now, shortstop in the American League. This one, again, comes down to two players. It's Tim Anderson for me and Xander Bogaerts. Now, this one was a little bit of a rough one pick for me. Obviously, Correa's injured, hasn't played a lot. I do really like JP Crawford. I couldn't pick him. I wish I could pick Wander Franco, but he just hasn't been super. He's missed some games. Has been a little cold at times. I still think he's a top 5 shortstop in baseball, but he just has to play better. Jeremy Pena has been very good. Actually, if Andres Jimenez was a shortstop, I would have to heavily consider him. If you look at him compared to Tim Anderson and Xander Bogaerts, it's very close, actually, and I really like his defense. But in tradition of me being a Red Sox fan, I kind of lean Xander Bogaerts, and I got to get a Red Sox in here just for me, so I'm picking Xander Bogaerts at shortstop. Maybe a little biased, but you know what? It's close enough anyways. I'll make that personal preference. Now, in the National League at shortstop, this one is very interesting for me. I really like Tommy Edman, but he just doesn't warrant it to me over the one guy. I know Fernando Tatis Jr. is here, but he literally hasn't played. I gotta give it to Trey Turner. I feel like that's kind of obvious when you look at the National League shortstops. Now catcher is a very interesting one. This one kind of came between two people. Personally, for me, I did want to consider Christian Vasquez. I also did take a look at Tom Murphy, but I felt like if I was going to pick him, I would just pick Vasquez because of personal preference. But I think I have to go Alejandro Kirk. I just feel like that's the right decision. Then in the National League, this came down to, do I pick the best player available or do I want to pick the player that I want to see in the All Star game? Obviously, that player I would want to see is Yadier Molina. However, I can't do that. I got to pick the best player available for me. So I'm going to pick Wilson Contreras, who's been very good this year behind the plate, especially offensively. He's been amazing. I just have to pick Wilson Contreras. Now in the outfield gets a little bit there's a lot of guys available. But I'm starting the American League. I'll pick the obvious guy first, and Aaron Judge. Then I was kind of looking around at this outfield. I do want to give a shout out to Manuel Margot. Manny Margot has been very good this year, hitting .313 average. So for Manny Margot, that's very, very good. I did feel I needed to shout him out. But I feel like at the end of the day, it's kind of, you got to pick Mike Trout. He's just been good. Got to give Kyle Tucker a shout out, but he's just not. It's got to be Taylor Ward. Let's be honest. It just kind of has to be. It just makes the most sense. And then you go to the National League and you start looking in the outfield. And now this is where it gets a little interesting here. In the outfield, the first person I looked for was Mookie Betts, obviously. Here I ran into a little bit of questions. Who do I take? And this is what I struggled with. You look at the outfield, a lot of these guys not having amazing years. Ian Happ's having a good year. Adubel Herrera surprisingly having a good year at the plate. It's just not a lot of great years if you scroll through all of this, through everyone here. Schwarber's having an okay year. But there's just Soto's having a down year for his standards. Mike Yastrzemski's having a good year. But I had to go with Jock Peterson. And then the third guy, I know he hasn't played a lot of games so far this year, but he's been stellar in the games he has played. And I got to pick Ronald Acuna Jr. He's 312. He's already got 5 homers, 15 RBIs, 923 OPS, and he's only getting better because he's still getting back into the swing of things. Now the designated hitter. Look at the American League. There's 2 options. It's Yordan Alvarez and it's JD Martinez. Obviously, Yordan's hit for a lot more power than JD. But JD's obviously has had a much higher average. But there's one factor that kind of pulls me a little bit away from JD Martinez is that he's not really driving a lot of runs in, even though he's getting a lot of hits. He struggled with guys on base, especially with runners in scoring position. Yordan Alvarez has just been ridiculous this year. He's already got 17 homers. Like, I think Yordan Alvarez. I'll say it. Yordan Alvarez is the next David Ortiz. He is. That's just how good Yordan Alvarez has been with the Astros. And he's just got a big extension. So, good for him. He's been amazing. I'm in the National League. I got to give a shout out to William Contreras. He's had a stellar year. Just for me, hasn't played enough games to compete with the person I'm going to pick. You can kind of see these guys. And this once again was, do I want to pick Pujols? Because I really do want to see him. But I just felt I couldn't pick Albert Pujols. I went Bryce Harper. It would have been William Contreras. I think I would have leaned towards him had he played more games. He just hasn't played enough games for me to consider picking him. especially when you have Bryce Harper there. So I eventually did go for Bryce Harper. And this is my all-star ballot here. As we go to review the picks, you can see all of my picks here. So here are my all-star picks. At first base, it is Ty France. Second, for the American League, it is Ty France, Andres Jimenez, Jose Ramirez, Xander Bogaerts, Aaron Judge, Mike Trout, Taylor Ward, Alejandro Kirk, and Yordan Alvarez. I have two players from Cleveland, two from the Angels, and then that's it. Everyone else is in their own team. Look in the National League, I have Paul Goldschmidt, Ketel Marte, Manny Machado, Trey Turner, Ronald Acuna Jr., Mookie Betts, Jock Peterson, Wilson Contreras, and Bryce Harper. None of them are from the same team. So that actually came out interesting to me, at least. That was very interesting to me how none of them are on the same team. And obviously there are some guys I shouted out during this that have had good years. And I wish I could include them. I just can't. Obviously, I could have considered, the big one that really got me was the American League at first base was, do I go Luis Ariz or do I go Ty France? So I'm really, really high on Luis Ariz, but I do also like Ty France as well. So that one was the big struggle for me. I could have considered putting Ariz at second and then Jimenez maybe. But then I'm like, okay, what do I do with Andres Jimenez? So unfortunately, Ariz just barely misses out. But if he goes on a hot stretch and France cools down a little bit, by the time the end of the All-Star voting comes around, could do a follow-up video around then when the All-Star voting is almost done. And who knows, it could be Luis Ariz then at first base instead of Ty France. However, it's very close. For some positions, some of them weren't close. But yeah. All right, well, I think that's going to wrap this one up. That was my All-Star ballot. I had a lot of fun filling it out. So, if anyone has any other picks than what I pick, or you agree with my picks, or just leave your thoughts in the comment section. Make sure to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell while you're down there as well. And also make sure to share this video to everyone you know, your friends, family, all that stuff. Make sure to check the description for all our links, the website, the podcast, the Instagram, and the Twitter. Plus, all of the crew's Twitters are also down there. And that's about it. This is Bleacher Brawls, me filling out my all-star bracket. My name is Derek. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you next time.